let's talk about the MedBed narrative for a second. It's asked to me everywhere I go. So what happens when the MedBeds come out? What about this? What about that? You know? So my question to everybody, and I'm going to have a conversation with myself right now to go through that dialogue, okay? My question always is, okay, what is a MedBed? Let's define that for a second. You always see people saying, well, it's this and it's that, and it's very obvious that it's all coming from what they were told. And there's usually not a lot of critical thought put into, well, let's think about this narrative for a second and understand what it really means if that were to happen. I'm going to start with a crazy statement that I would have ended with, and I'm going to end with that statement, and then I'm going to explain it in the middle. If the military were to come out right now, because that's part of the narrative, and share MedBed technology for free with the entire world to save the world, I would do everything in my power to stop it. That's the crazy statement. Now let me explain why doing something like that is not only an impossibility, but a crime against humanity. We have certain lessons to learn in this world. We have to go through certain things. That narrative is coming from this Messiah complex, this Savior complex. Come and save us. We're poor people and we're victims to everything that's happened to us. No, we're not. We're the reason why the world looks the way that it looks today, and that's an uncomfortable truth, but it's a fact. So when it comes to MedBed technology, let's think about that for a second. So a lot of people perceive this technology as, and this is just the majority, as these like magic beds that you walk into, they fix all your problems, and you leave, and everything's fine. That's somebody that only understands the physical realm. But there are two things going on here. There's the physical, and there's the spiritual. There are physical lessons, and there are karmic lessons. Let's take the EE system for a second. The EE system can help you with many things, so long as you're ready to learn the lessons that your ailments have to teach you. In other words, if you have pain in your knee, okay, for the past 20 years, and you come in here and you say, well, this person had pain in their knee, and it went away, why didn't it go away for me? Because it's not just about the physical realm of what the technology can help you do for yourself. The difference between person A that healed through it and person B that didn't is the fact that one person received the lesson that that knee was trying to teach them. If a technology like this narrative of MedBed technologies ever existed in the way that we thought, it would strip every single person of the ability to grow through the hardships that we go through, because those hardships are your gifts. And in that way, number one, stepping into a technology, making everything okay and coming out of it, is taking all responsibility away from us. That puts us in an even deeper hole than we're already in. So that's number one of why I'm against it. Number two, why it's an impossibility, is because no technology in this world can take away what your karmic cycle has to show you. Nothing. I don't care how advanced it is. I don't care how not advanced it is. I don't care who's behind it, if it's aliens or people. No technology will ever be able to take a karmic lesson away from you, because that would be a crime against humanity. And in addition to that, it's an impossibility spiritually. You can circumvent and get around all the loopholes in the physical world. You can't mess things up over there because there's an order. So when you come into these systems, one of the most important lessons is not just to come in and understand the physical part of your body of, ooh, I'm coming here to heal. You have to ask yourself, what is this thing trying to teach me? Because if you don't learn the lesson, no MedBed, no EE system, no nothing will ever be able to help you. So if you really define the pure core of the MedBeds without all the stories and the narratives that they say, that's this. We need to do the work. We need to do what's necessary in order to get out of the mess that we created. Because the MedBed narrative says we're victims to this thing, like we said, and you need to help us get out of this. No, nobody could help us get out of this. People ask me, what about TLS? Why aren't they doing X, Y, and Z around the world? Well, because they can't. They can't. Not forget about laws. They physically cannot, because even if they did, if we're not ready to see something, they could do whatever they want. It's not going to change anything. Just now when I came back from India, before I went to India, I thought truly that if we raise billions of dollars, we can help a lot of people in this country. And after I left, I was like, damn, I was wrong. Because it's not about the money. It's not about throwing money at a problem and giving things to people. You have to shift the consciousness that created the problem if you want to shift the problem and the expression of it. And that just doesn't happen through giving people food and building shelter and giving them water. That's a piece of it. But without the education piece of teaching people how to come back into their power and shift that awareness and consciousness to shift the result of it, we're not going to get anywhere. So for that reason, I'm not only in disbelief of that narrative, but I'm completely against it. Because it would take away everything that we have to learn for ourselves, thus taking away our evolution. We don't want to take away our hardships because our hardships are our greatest opportunities to grow. I'm going to finish by explaining one very simple thing. There's two dimensions of will here. There's free will and there's divine will. And the way to explain this is very simple, and this is very, very important for anybody that comes into this technology if you truly want to catalyze your process of healing yourself. If you don't understand this, you're going to be left behind. If you do understand this, this technology is a great gift to a lot of people. Free will and divine will are both a part of you. You know those cars with two steering wheels when you're learning to drive? We're all learning to live right now. That's why you come and reincarnate as a human being. That's why you come into this form. Because you're coming here to learn how to live and to learn lessons along the way. When we come in with both free will in one driver's seat and divine will in another driver's seat. But when we come in, there's this veil, this black wall of amnesia that causes us to think that we're just here and forget about this. Because if you came in with all the answers, there's no point to come in the first place. You need to come here to learn. You don't learn if you know all the answers to the test, right? You wouldn't do that in school because you wouldn't learn the lesson. You have to go through the process of learning the lesson that's sometimes difficult. But with the awareness of what I'm about to explain, it's very liberating. It's how you get healing in the first place within your body and how you catalyze the process of the body to heal itself. So we're driving both driver's seats, but our awareness, for the most part, is within the free will. So you come onto this street. Your free will identifies your body, the desire within your body, the awareness of your body, otherwise called the ego. The divine will part of you is the purpose, the path that you came here to experience, all the lessons that you came here to experience, why you're actually here. The road that you're driving on with that two steering wheel car is dictated by this. But without this, you wouldn't be a human being. So there's a veil that comes in, now you're driving in this seat. And you're driving and driving and driving, and suddenly you go off course a little bit from this that you weren't aware of. Well, how do you become aware of this? By veering that car back onto the road. So every time something bad happens to you, it's actually the greatest thing in the world. Because on the side of that road, you have a lot of trees. And if divine will didn't use its power to bring itself back on course onto that path of what you came here to experience, then you're going to hit that tree and be gone forever. And that's not an option. So what happens? The further you veer from the road, when you jerk yourself back onto the road from this level of awareness, you're going to hit your head hard on that window. That is a translation for things like cancer, for things like depression, for things like heart disease, for all the hardships that we experience in our life. That's the expression of divine will bringing itself back on course. It's up to us to be smart enough and aware enough to, instead of playing victim, and we have the choice to do that from free will, but instead of playing victim and saying, why is this happening to me? The window hit my head. No, the window saved you, and so did the car. Because that cancer and that thing that you're coming here to attempt to heal yourself through is a lesson, it's a gift. You will not be able to come back on track and align free will and divine will once again if you don't understand the lesson that that jerk back onto the road was trying to teach you. So it's all about understanding the lessons. Next time something happens to you, understand that it's happening for you. And when it happens for you, the question that you ask changes. It's no longer, why did this happen to me? God is bad. What type of God would do this? When you understand that you were about to hit a tree, well, that thing just saved you. And instead of saying, why did this happen to me? You say, what is the lesson that I need to learn from this. The second you understand the lesson, that's when this technology will be able to help you. But the spiritual trumps the physical. The divine will trumps the free will. The purpose is to align both once again. To align free will and divine will. And the last thing that I'm going to finish on here is just saying the same thing in different words. Ego and soul. This is very important for the healing process in all parts of our lives. In the spiritual community and beyond, we've been taught that the ego is a very bad thing. The ego is not a bad thing whatsoever. It's bad if you use it in counterproductive ways. But it's a beautiful thing if you use it in the way and the purpose for why it was given to you. Just like the appendix is not useless, even though doctors tell us it is. We know that it's a part of the body for a specific reason. We're starting to learn that reason once again. So if you have this thing, there must be a very good reason for it. When you align the desire of the ego with the desire of the soul, you have engines that are propelling you in both the physical world and the spiritual world, and when they're aligned, you succeed in not just your egoic physical body mission, but your sole purpose of why you came here, again, or for the first time, or the last time, whatever it may be. You came here to align these two. The ego is the reason why you ran away from the bear when it's chasing you. Because the ego forgets that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It forgets that there's a soul that keeps going because energy cannot be created or destroyed, and it's a law of science. So the ego, because it believes in just the limitations of the body from 0 to 186,000 miles per second, within the matrix of light as we experience it, the ego believes that if the bear comes and eats it, it's dead. The ego is the reason why you run away, and you have this experience and emotion of fear when something is dangerous. If you didn't have the ego, and you only operated out of this, what do you think would happen? You're just going to sit there and let the bear eat you because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You would have no motivation to build anything. The ego is the reason why centers like this exist, but aligned with the purpose of the soul, the desire of the soul. The ego is the reason why there's 270 unified healing centers around the world right now in 11 months. It's not a bad thing if it's used in a productive way. So these lessons that I'm sharing today are extremely important when it comes to understanding how we heal ourselves. There is no such thing that can take away your responsibility and your own lessons, because that would be the worst thing that can be done, and it's an impossibility spiritually speaking. You're not a victim to the jerks back onto the road, you're a creator of it. And the purpose of jerking you back onto the road is to show you where you went off course so you know how to stay on course and fulfill your purpose. When you're coming to this technology, you need to remember that. And you always have to ask yourself before, how is the EE system going to help my back pain or my arthritis? You have to ask yourself, what is the lesson of the back pain and the arthritis? When you understand the lesson, only then will you give this thing the power to help you heal yourself. That's how it works. That's why I'm against the whole MedBed narrative. Because not only it doesn't make sense, not only is it impossible, but it would be a crime against humanity to bring something like that with nothing done in return to help people learn their lessons. It would take us off track and ultimately have us hit those trees.